What's crack-a-lackin'? Welcome in to My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Show.
Welcome into another episode of My Mind is a Weapon Fantasy Football Podcast. I am your host, Sleazebomb. This episode, we're going to be going over running back, start-em, sit-ems, each matchup. Going to look at the game script, going to look at the total point spreads of the game, the high implied point totals or not. We're going to be looking at how they went week one versus the running back points given up. It's going to be a fun ride here, guys. Week one is in the books. We are headed into week two. I'm amped up for the week. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you smash that like, hit that subscription button. All the support's appreciated. I'll be bringing you content all year long to help you guys dominate your leagues. And if you guys have any questions or comments, doesn't have to pertain to this video. You can drop them in there as well. And if you guys have not joined the Discord yet, it will be pinned in the comments. It will be in the description of the video as well. The guys FF, me and my partner, Big Draft Energy, he'll be live on his show. I'll be live on his show with him tonight at 7 p.m. Eastern. We're doing a battle show. It's going to be fun over there. Stand on business. Make sure you guys check that out. And then the last shout out here, got to get the sponsor. Shout out to Drafters, drafters.com. If you guys have not signed up, use promo code SLEAZE. You can do best ball drafts with us, pick'ems, DFS daily drafts, DFS plays, all that. We put all that in the Discord as well, guys. And now let's take a look at who I like to start and sit to help you guys win your matchups in week two at running back. So if you guys are new to the channel, this is my running back start-em, sit-em board. Away team at the top, going down to the versus to the home team at the bottom. Green start, yellow will be possible flex fringe play, red will be sit-em, guys. And we're going to start off and we're going to go down the list of how the games go in order of time. So I try to get them all out in order here. We start off with Thursday night football. The Washington Commanders 1-0 headed into the Green Bay Packers 1-0. The over-under is 48.5. Now what you have to look at here in this game. So when I'm looking at the Washington Commanders in this game for the running back situation, Austin Eckler has one of the most advantageous matchups versus the running back in receiving yards in this game. Jacory Krosky-Merritt, did he earn a little more playing time? Yeah. The hype has been there all offseason. Bill, whatever you want to call him, quote-unquote Bill, he found the end zone, but he played very limited snaps last week in a plus game script versus the Giants. So you did see a little more work with him at the end because he had a big lead. So do I still feel comfortable off a touchdown? You can fringe flex play him if you want. I would lean a little more towards Austin Eckler in this game in the receiving work versus the Packers than I would with Jacory Merritt versus that front with Micah Parsons out there as well. But when you're looking at the Packers run D, last week they ranked 7th. They only gave up 8 points. So that tells you right there. Well, sorry, that's running back versus the Packers. They gave up only 44 yards on the ground. So they did give up a ton of receiving work in the air to Jahmyr Gibbs. So don't forget that. That's why Austin Eckler has such a plus receiving matchup. So that's just purely rushing stats I was giving. On to the Green Bay side, Josh Jacobs going to be an absolute start in this game versus the Commanders, and I do not care that the Washington Commanders are number one versus the running back right now, only giving up 5 points because they played Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo and Russell Wilson last week. So, like, when I use the numbers, I do like to at least get like a 4 or 5, game script of the defenses. This is just week one. So do I think that, Commanders have a top I think it was run defense. No, because they played the New York Giants. It's going to be a different look. They're going to have to worry about Matthew Golden. They're coming off a short week, and they're going to have to worry about Romeo Doubs and Jaden Reed out there finding the end zone as well. I think it's going to be a high-scoring game. But again, I like Josh Jacobs as a start. Obviously, Marshawn Lilly's on IR. And Eckler and Merritt are flex plays for me at best. They're definitely not a smash start for me. One of my favorite games of the week is going to be the 1-0 Jacksonville Jaguars headed into the 1-0 Cincinnati Bengals, over under high implied point total at 49.5. And for the Jacksonville Jaguars side, you just got Tank Bigsby traded to Philly, which means they're going to be believing in Travis Etienne and maybe Byshell Tootin, maybe LeQuint Allen, who saw more snaps than Tootin last week. How that backup running back's going to play, we don't know yet. But from here on out, Travis Etienne is going to be the guy that Liam Cohen is leaning on as the starting running back. And if you got him at the draft value that you got him, it is absolute gold right now. Now, they are going up against Cincinnati Bengals. And the Cincinnati Bengals, their defense is supposed to be very, very bad. We know this, right? But their defense versus the run last week versus Cleveland was very, very good. So I still like Travis Etienne because it's a different scheme. I think the Browns' run game is going to struggle the whole year long either way. But they only gave up 40 yards rushing last week, which is very, very good for a Bengals defense. But still, I'm starting Travis Etienne with confidence. On to the Chase Brown side against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, the Jacksonville Jaguars did give up a touchdown to Chuba Hubbard through the air. They gave up a little bit of rushing yard for them, but it was a bad game script for the Panthers. They fell way behind. Now, when I'm looking at Chase Brown, this guy had 100% usage for the Bengals. No other running back saw a carry but Chase Brown. That is the fantasy gold that you want. Numbers like that, I don't even care what the matchup is. He is not coming off the field. He is not coming out of my lineup. Chase Brown's probably going to be a smash start for me all year long. And volume is king, man, and his volume was absolutely kingish. Heading down to the division matchup, the 0-1 Giants are heading into the 0-1 Jerry's World Dallas Cowboy over under 45.5. And this game's going to have a little different look to me for it here. So when I'm looking at the Giants, I mean, this run game, man, I told you guys all year long, the offensive line's going to be terrible with Russell Wilson out there. You cannot start any Giants. I don't even know if we need to look at the Cowboys defense. They're going up. The Cowboys held Saquon Barkley in check for the best you can against Saquon Barkley. I mean, did they give up 96 yards rushing to the Eagles combined? Yeah, that's fine. But when you hold Saquon under 20 points, that's lights out, especially when you lost Micah Parsons. I'm not touching this Giants running back room at all. Now, Cowboys side, and I told you guys this last week, man. And so they're going up against the Giants. And the Giants last week held Austin Eckler, Jacoby Krosky broke out late once the game was completely over for a touchdown there and got some yards tacked on to make their run defense look worse. That could be the problem for the Giants all year long until maybe Jackson Dart steps in as a starter, because this defense is going to be gassed, and down the stretches where they can get beat when they're tired at the end of a game. So I get that. But when I look at Javonte Williams last week, everyone was all amped up. He got 2 touchdowns. Both these touchdowns came on PI flags in the end zone where he just walked it into the end zone at the 1. The yards per carry was low per touch. Do I like him as a start? Do I hype him up off 1 week? No, I don't. This Giants front is very good. And Jadon Blue was inactive last week. And Miles Sanders popped a 50-yard run. So we don't really know. Javonte will probably lead the way again, but if Jadon Blue gets mixed in, we don't know how it's going to go. And Javonte Williams, guys, didn't really look that good besides finding the end zone twice. And I know you can look at those numbers in fantasy and think it's an automatic start because he had a good week 1. That's not how it goes in fantasy football. I am not putting Javonte Williams as a start still. He's a flex play at best if you need it for me heading into week 2. The 0-1 Bears are headed into Ford Field in Detroit to take on the 0-1 Lions. And when you're looking at this game, right, so the Chicago Bears last night, you saw them on Monday Night Football. You saw DeAndre Swift. You saw Roshan Johnson was inactive, and Kyle Manunjai get a couple snaps here and there. Not what they hyped up Kyle Manunjai to play. It was the DeAndre Swift show, 20-plus touches in the game. But the touches are limited. The run game isn't really there. He's always going to get it done with a couple 6, 5, 7 receptions per game and in the receiving game, PPR-wise. But you also got to look at he doesn't get the goal line work either. Now, when you're heading into the Detroit Lions this week, and you look at the Detroit Lions last week, they held the Packers down until the end. Well, I mean, not say held them down in the run game. They held them down in the run game is a better way to put it than held them down in the game. And then at the end of the game, once, they had a comfortable lead, Josh Jacobs found the end zone, which kind of hurt their rushing defense stats. But the Lions' run D is very good. They're going to be back at home. They're going to be angry. You could say it's a revenge game for DeAndre Swift, but I'm going to put DeAndre Swift as a flex start, not as a smash start this week, because the touchdown upside really is going to be him breaking a long one to find the end zone. That's his best chance to score at this point. So Jahmyr Gibbs onto the Lions side. What a weird game for the Lions. Who could have called it? Oh, yeah, we called it. I did not like them up against the Packers. Obviously, I'm not sitting Jahmyr Gibbs no matter what. The guy had 10 receptions. But if you noticed in that game, what did you notice? Jahmyr Gibbs led them in targets, which is what I alluded to in the preseason, which is what I alluded to in my week 1 wide receiver rankings, which is why I was lower on Amon-Ra St. Brown this year. And I really think it's going to be really, really ugly without Ben Johnson out there. You could tell that this offense was in a whole different shambled look. But with Jahmyr Gibbs, absolute superstar, you paid the premium. You're starting him. And you look at how Jordan Mason kind of ran over these Bears last night. Aaron Jones definitely did not look good early. He caught an end zone reception on kind of a busted wheel route last night. But the run game was all Jordan Mason. And could Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery eat him up? For sure. But their left guard is down. Their center is gone. Their right guard is gone. Their left tackle is beat up. This Lions game is in this Lion team is in a lot of trouble. But I'm still going to put Jahmyr Gibbs as a start and David Montgomery as a flex play. But, man, it's getting scary for the Lions. They need to turn it around this week bad. The 1-0 LA Rams are headed into the 0-1 Tennessee Titans with Cam Ward in his second game. Now, guys, with the LA Rams, it's always Kyren Williams. Kyren. I'm tired of saying this over and over. It's not Blake Corum. Jarquez Hunter was a healthy scratch. Now, when you're looking at, they're going up against the Titans defense. What happens to the Titans defense last week? They got absolutely shredded, ranking 4th worst versus the running back, giving up 133 yards, a touchdown on the ground, and 21 total fantasy points. Kyren is here to feast in this game. It's going to be another one of those Broncos kind of ugly script games here. You saw the Texans-Rams game be ugly, and I think the Rams are going to pull it out at the end here. And I'm not starting Corum or Hunter, let's be real. On to the Tennessee Titans side, again, Tony Pollard. You have Tyjae Spears on IR. I said week 1 I don't love Tony Pollard, but volume is going to make him a flex play. That's probably how it's going to be again here in this matchup. The Rams were very good versus the Texans in week 1. The Rams were 4th best versus the running back, only giving up 77 yards, no touchdowns on the ground, and about 6 total fantasy points to Nick Chubb. And it's going to be another one of those games, ground and pound, ugly couple receptions here and there. Maybe Pollard falls into the end zone. Maybe he doesn't. It's a very good Rams front. Jared Verse is nasty. I like Pollard as a flex play, fringe flex play, and Kyren as a smash start this week. The 0-1 Patriots are headed into the 0-1 Miami Dolphins, and man, things are getting scary in Miami. But the over-under is 43.5 here. And you got to look at this game like this. The Miami Dolphins defense is absolutely shredded, guys. They gave up 112 on the ground. They gave up 13 fantasy points as well last week. But you got to remember, with Jonathan Taylor, he got vultured twice at the end zone by Danny Dimes last week, so he could have literally had 30 points, right? And then you saw DJ Giddens come in and get 12 touches, and he popped off as well. The game script for the Dolphins is always going to be ugly. This is a game where Travion Henderson is going to feast, and a game where possibly Ramondre Stevenson could be a flex play, because you saw a little split between them. And if the Patriots get up, they could just pound the run like the Colts did on the Dolphins all day, because they cannot stop the run. On to the Dolphins side. Man, I had Ollie Gordon as a sleeper play. That's why it's a sleeper play, not a start play, because he didn't even see the field because the Dolphins couldn't get the lead. And that's probably how it's going to go all year long for the Dolphins. Ollie Gordon is one of those talents that, he won the Doak Walker in college, had a bad year. He's going to need an injury to A-Chain to ever really be relevant in this offense, because they're going to be pass heavy. They're probably going to be playing from behind almost every single game. Devon A-Chain is going to be the guy. You saw down 30-0. He's out there on 4th and 13, making a goal line play to even give them a touchdown to stay, not stay in the game, but save a shutout. So A-Chain is going to be a receiving monster, going to be their starting running back the whole way. Smash start every single week, and Ollie Gordon, Jalen Wright, kind of stash plays, maybe waiver wire drops at this point. You hold if you have A-Chain, so you don't have an injury, you have a little handcuff behind it. But still, it's going to be rough for this Miami Dolphins team, man. 1-0 49ers, big dub for my boys, are headed into the New Orleans Saints this week, and this could be really, really ugly, guys, for the 49ers, but the situation is going to be great for both these running backs. Let's dive into it here. So the over-under is 40.5. The implied point total is low. You may have a Mac Jones versus Spencer Rattler game on your hands here, which is going to lead to what? CMC and Alvin Kamara see massive, massive volume in the passing game and the running game. And what did I tell you guys last week? CMC is going to be fine. It is the Shanahan, I think it was mind games they were trying to play. The calf issue, he went out and had 31 touches and 150 total yards. He's the focal point of this offense, 100%. The Niners go as CMC goes, and that is how it is going to be all year long. That is what I've been saying all year long. Now, when you're looking at what the Saints did last week, and this is going to be just rough either way for the Saints all year long, because their offense is probably not going to keep them on the field that long. So the defense is going to be tired. They gave up 100-plus yards on the ground. They gave up 0 rushing touchdowns, but they gave up 17 fantasy points as well, which ranks them 20th. Now you go up against Christian McCaffrey. Good luck, Saints defense. On to the Saints side against the 49ers. The 49ers defense showed up and showed out versus that so-called amazing Seattle offensive line that I was told about. No, they're not. They're not a good offensive line. The Kubiak system was preseason hype. I try to tell everyone this, but, it's how it goes. It's only 1 week. We'll see how it looks from here. But you get the 49ers who gave up only 67 yards on the ground. That's to Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Robert Saleh had this defense dialed in. Bosa and Mykel Williams are going to be a nightmare out there. And the Saints are missing their left guard again. They're going to be even in more trouble here moving into this game. And they gave up 12 points on the ground fantasy-wise, the 49ers defense. So I mean, Alvin Kamara is going to get it done through the air, if anything, not on the ground. But that is why you always got to like Alvin Kamara as a start and Christian McCaffrey as a start, because they're two-way versatile players. All systems running back go game is here. The 1-0 Buffalo Bills coming off that insane win versus the Baltimore Ravens. What a freaking game that was. James Cook is going to be a start every single week. The Bills are going to be favored in every single game this year. Their defense, obviously, you played the Baltimore Ravens, right? So you got to throw the kind of game script out the way when those two superstars are on the field. So when I'm looking at the Jets last week versus the Steelers versus the run, the Jets actually really held them down yardage-wise to 54 yards. They gave up that touchdown to Jalen Warren in the red zone, so that gave him 13 fantasy points, which dropped their defense to 12. But their run D was good, but they're not going up against the Buffalo Bills offense. This is a different beast. So, again, this is why when you're looking at the stats, it's a one-week stat accumulation. I'd like to have at least 4 or 5, then to go from there. But we got to use them as we go here. Now, Breece Hall, I got to apologize. I kind of faded Breece Hall in drafts. He looked absolutely freaking great against the Steelers' run D, which I didn't like. And I said to sit Justin Fields, Garrett Wilson, and Breece Hall because on paper, the Steelers' defense looked great. The game plan that Glenn came out with, dude, Breece Hall looked phenomenal. Braylon Allen found the end zone. You saw him get some touches here and there. It's going to be more of a 1A, mini, small 1B, but I do think Braylon Allen's going to see the goal line work, which kind of hurts Breece Hall. But then you have to look at the Bills' defense. And again, this is going up against Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson. This is a different kind of monster look. The matchup looks the most advantageous on the week, right? You look at the Bills, they gave up 27 fantasy points. They gave up 160 yards on the ground. All of those are dead last, right? But that's the Ravens. I still like Breece as a start, especially after last week. I cannot deny miss there. And Braylon Allen, if you need, a deep flex play that could possibly get your goal line work, he could be an okay flex play. He's not a high flex play. I mean, he's more like a lower flex play, but he is a touchdown dependent play, and he can find the end zone easily in this game. And I'm starting James Cook and Breece Hall with confidence this week. The 0-1 Seattle Seahawks are headed into Pittsburgh town against the 1-0 Pittsburgh Steelers. And we got to talk about this here. So Seattle Seahawks, I try to tell you guys, their offensive line is going to be a problem. Kenneth Walker, I didn't like in drafts. I stayed away ADP-wise. I always thought Charbonnet was going to be the league winner because of Kenneth Walker's injury history. He's never been healthy in his entire NFL career for a full season. We're only one game in. It's not time to get crazy. But if you look at that offensive line, man, it's time to be worried. And Sam Darnold, it's time to be worried. Though everything looked terrible. The Niners gave him every single opportunity for Seattle to win that game, and they still choked. So when you're looking at it, the 49ers run D last week, held them down hard, right? They gave him only 67 total yards in a Clint Kubiak run system that was hyped up from the preseason. It's the preseason, guys. That's why it's the preseason. That's why you don't panic in the preseason. Now, when you're looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers defense, and they got throttled last week by the Jets, absolutely ran over 134 yards on the ground, gave up a touchdown on the ground as well to Braylon Allen, 22 fantasy points in total. Breece Hall had a nice game. Braylon Allen had a nice game there as well. I'm still not confident with Kenneth Walker coming off the injury, not playing in camp, not being there. He played limited snaps. Charbonnet played more. If you want to flex either one of them, you can throw them in as flex plays, but they aren't high-end flex plays for me this week. I think the Steelers defense is going to bounce back at home in a big way this week. And when I look at the Steelers, I know you get the Seattle Seahawks, but you got to look at they played Christian McCaffrey, right? And Christian McCaffrey's a nightmare to deal with. The Niners only had 102 yards rushing. That's with Brian Robinson, with CMC. CMC got a lot done during the air as well, or through the air as well. And Seattle ranks 24th versus the running back right now. But I don't trust Jalen Warren. I don't trust the splits. You saw Kenneth Gainwell out there more than Jalen Warren snap share-wise. I could put Kenneth Gainwell up there, but I'm not starting Kenneth Gainwell. Caleb Johnson's completely off the board. 1 carry for -2 yards. They're going to make him earn his role. I don't like the start here for any of these Steelers in this week, and I really am low flex play on the Seattle Seahawks running backs this week heading into Pittsburgh. The 0-1 Cleveland Browns are headed into the 0-1 Baltimore Ravens this week. And man, oh man, Jerome Ford phased out completely when they fell behind. And that's how the Browns are going to be all year long, which is what I was saying with Quinshon Judkins even at the beginning of the year. Yes, they've spent a high draft capital on him. Could Judkins be out there week 2? There's a lot of speculation across the board. I'm still not starting Quinshon Judkins versus the Baltimore Ravens defense. They are not the Bills. They are not James Cook. It's not how it is going to go just based off the matchup last week, right? That game was a shootout of 80-plus points. That was 2 MVP caliber quarterbacks on the field. Do not take that into consideration when you see like a green marker on your thing versus the Ravens run D, right? Because they only gave up 70 yards on the ground still. James Cook did a lot through the air, and he got 18 fantasy points in that game, right? So don't look at that and be excited. But what you got to be excited about is Dylan Sampson and his passing work, which is something I alluded to at the beginning of the year. He's going to be the passing down back. This team is going to be playing from behind. He's probably going to see 8 targets in this game again, and can be a flex play if you need it, because they're going to be trailing, and they're going to be trailing all year long. And there's probably about, a 4 or 5 game window before they pull the ripcord on Joe Flacco, and then it becomes even worse. So Dylan Sampson, flex play if you did it this week. On to the Ravens side. King Henry, is there even a question that you're starting this guy every single week? 160 rushing yards the Bills gave up. He had 3 runs of 30-plus yards at age 31, 2 touchdowns, on his way to RB1, chasing 2,000 yards to be an Adam Sandler movie. You're starting Derrick Henry no matter what. Interesting, though, on the backfield side, I had Keaton Mitchell as the backup. It looked like Rasheen Ali was the backup. So if anything happens to Henry, I'll put his name up there, but nothing to talk about there now. You're starting Henry, and I'm okay flexing Sampson this week as a higher flex than I like Kenneth Walker or Charbonnet. The 1-0 Denver Broncos are headed into the 1-0 Indianapolis Colts. The over-under is 42.5 in this game, so that's a low implied point total game already that Vegas thinks. When you're looking at the Denver Broncos and what happened with the Tennessee Titans last week, I mean, R.J. Harvey, I hope that they plan on getting this guy more work. He obviously had the explosive 50-yard run, that made it look great there at the end. But J.K. Dobbins saw a lot of work. You even saw Beatty in there as well. So it's going to be a committee type approach early on here. So again, these are like low-end flex plays for me, because you never know which one's going to hit, how the split carriage is going to be used here. Could either one of these guys fall in the end zone? Sure. And you're going up against a Colts run D, who right now is going to be rated very, very high because they only allowed 59 rush yards to the Dolphins. But that's the Miami Dolphins. Their game was in shambles. That whole game, they fell behind so early that the run game just became anemic, and it was a straight pass attack. So, looking at the Colts D, it's only week 1. I like to get like a 4-game sample before you really start to dive into how these defenses look. On to the Colts side, this was as impressive as it gets. Jonathan Taylor, on the first 45 snaps of the game, played all 100% snaps. And then they blew him out by 30, so they rested him down the stretch. And he did get vultured 2 touchdowns, as well by Danny Dimes at the goal line, which really hurt. And you're going up against the toughest defense you can go up against. This is the number 1 defense on the year, in my opinion. The Denver Broncos just literally held the Titans to 62 yards rushing and 6 fantasy points for Tony Pollard. So, yeah, is it a tough matchup? Yes, but you're at home. He plays every single snap. I'm not going to have Jonathan Taylor as high this week, but he's still going to be a start. He'll probably be around my top 10 to 12 range in my running back rankings. But you're obviously starting him because the volume is ridiculous that he gets. The 0-1 Carolina Panthers are headed into the 1-0 Arizona Cardinals. The over-under 45.5. Arizona favored by 6.5 in this game here. And when you're looking at this game, we all know that the Carolina Panthers run defense is just one of the worst in the NFL, right? So when we get to the Cardinals side here, it's going to be fun. But Chuba Hubbard going up against the Arizona Cardinals is going to be a start for me. Alvin Kamara found the end zone versus him last week. You saw Chuba Hubbard be heavily involved in the pass game when they were in a bad gain script from behind, playing against the Jaguars last week. And I expect this game to be a little closer here. I don't expect the Panthers to fall all the way behind here. I could see Chuba Hubbard and them getting into the end zone early in this game. And I honestly may like Chuba for 2 touchdowns in this game as well. But we'll get to that when we start the shows and stuff there as well. So when you're looking at the Cardinals defense right now versus the running back, they rank 17th. They only give up 78 yards rushing. But again, you played the Saints. You know the Saints are not going to be a run-heavy team. And they gave up 14 fantasy points. Now, James Conner's side, he's going to be one of my absolute smash starts of the week. Look at what Trevor Etienne did to this defense. Absolutely shredded them. They got 173 yards they let on the ground go, which is number 1. And last year they gave up 4,000. You're starting every single running back versus the Panthers every single week. And Trey Benson even becomes a flex play. You saw the usage be kind of a 60-40 split, which I didn't see coming. I thought Connor would still hold like a 65-70 snap share. They want Trey Benson more involved. He broke a 50-yarder down the sideline as well. Could he be a flex play if you need it? Very, very low flex, play for me, not like a high-end flex play. But if you need it because of injuries that have happened already to your roster, I like Trey Benson as a possible 6 to 8 point flex play this week. The game of the week, the Philadelphia Eagles 1-0 headed into the 0-1 Kansas City Chiefs this week. The over-under 46.5. Philly is favored by 1.5 in this game. Philly also just acquired Tank Bigsby in a trade, so the backup running back room, we're going to see how it plays out. They said he's going to be a kick returner. I'm not really buying that. And Saquon Barkley has a tough matchup. The Chiefs' run D is very, very good. They're tied for number 3 right now overall. They only gave up 53 yards rushing last week and 6 fantasy points. So it's still Saquon Barkley. You know the Eagles are a run-heavy offense. You know they're going to work through him. You're not sitting your top pick if you ever draft him. Let's be real here with Saquon Barkley. On to the Chiefs side, I had Isaiah Pacheco as a sit last week. I'm going to put him right back on a sit this week. When you look at this Eagles run D, they're a very good run D. Of course, they rank 24th right now because Javonte Williams walked in 2 pass interference, 1-yard touchdowns. So it really hurt their defense, giving them 20 points, puts them really low. They gave up 107 yards on the ground as well, too. Did the Cowboys run game look better? Do I trust the Chiefs run game with no Xavier Worthy, no Rashee Rice? Travis Kelce looked slow as molasses. He still found a touchdown in the game to save his day. I didn't like Travis Kelce last week either. He was still under projection, but he didn't look good at all. What are they going to use here? This is going to be, they're going to be able to stack the box. They're going to be able to cover. This is going to be a really, really ugly game for the Chiefs running backs. I'm not touching any of them this week. Sunday Night Football, the Atlanta Falcons are headed into the Minnesota Vikings. And when I'm looking at this game, it's going to be, you saw Monday Night Football. You saw the Vikings. Sorry, it should be switched around. The Vikings should be at home. I messed up the graphics on this one. But you saw Aaron Jones. You saw that he looked sluggish in the run game. You saw him break away for a receiving touchdown at the end. That's where Aaron Jones thrives, is in the receiving game. Jordan Mason looked like the better running back. But you're going up against the Atlanta Falcons, who just stymied Bucky Irving last week. And that's why they invested the draft capital in the first round on their front. They want to get after the quarterback. They want to stop the run. And the Falcons right now rank 10th versus the running back. And they only gave up 53 yards last week. Now, the Bucs were missing Tristan Wirfs, which is their superstar left tackle, so that hurts them there. And they gave up 12 fantasy points. So not bad at all on the Falcons side. I really like their run D. And, you got a 1A, 1B situation with the Vikings. So if you want to flex play either one, you can. I'd say Jordan Mason's rushing touchdown upside is higher. Aaron Jones probably gets more done in the receiving game. But again, both flex plays for me, and confident flex plays, not low flex plays, confident flex plays. But they're not smash starts for me. On to the Falcons side. Bijan Robinson obviously did Bijan Robinson things, but there's something to notice here, and they were not lying when they said it was going to be 1A, 1B situation. It was 52-48 snap share. Tyler Algier saw a lot of work. So, I really want Bijan to be the 70%, 3-down guy, but they look like they're going to try and do a two-headed monster here. But I do think if the Falcons start losing, that you'll start seeing a way more Bijan usage in this game. In the season, the over-under is 45.5 in this game. And when you're looking at the Vikings and what they just did with DeAndre Swift, I mean, they held him in the run game. This is a good run D. DeAndre Swift got it done in the pass game. Bijan had 100 yards receiving last week. He can get a ton done in the pass game. Get this man in space. He's a monster. And obviously, if you paid the top premium pick, you're starting Bijan Robinson. Monday Night Football doubleheader. The first part, the 1-0 Buccaneers are headed into the 0-1 Texans. The over-under is 42.5. And when I'm looking at this game, Bucky Irving coming off that rough matchup again versus the Atlanta Falcons last week. He gets another tough matchup versus the Houston Texans. Now, the Houston Texans, did they give up that touchdown to Kyren Williams in the red zone? Kyren Williams always sees red zone work, but they held the Rams to 68 yards rushing. So they do rank 12th versus the running back right now. But again, that's because he fell in the end zone for a touchdown and we're 1 week in. And this Texans runs D is going to be nasty, man. So Bucky's still a start, but he's not a high-end start for me. It's going to be like a mid, kind of Jonathan Taylor range, just matchup based in this game. And on the Houston Texans side, guys, I've been telling you this all year long. Avoid this running back until it's Joe Mixon, period. I don't care if it's Nick Chubb, Woody Mark, Damian Pierce. It's going to be rough all year long. This is going to be a pass-heavy game. Tampa, gave up 48 yards rushing last week. 48. That is how good this run D was. That was second to the Bengals. That is phenomenal. And they're going to shut them down again. There's no run game in Houston. Tampa struggles versus the pass. That is where the Texans are going to have to thrive in this game. Last but not least, the second part of the Monday Night Football doubleheader. The 1-0 Chargers are headed into the 1-0 Raiders for an AFC West battle. And I'm going to look at this game for the Chargers a little differently than most. I'm going to have Amari and Hampton as a flex play start. I do not like him as an RB2 with confidence this week. There has been the update that Najee Harris is going to be more involved. And you have to look at what the Raiders did to the New England Patriots. And they had the lead. You know, it wasn't like a 20-point lead. It was a neutral game script. They held the Patriots to 45 yards rushing with Travion Henderson and Ramondre Stevenson. And that was traveling out east. It was a West Coast team for an early 10 a.m. game. This defense is actually good versus the run. And when you have these AFC grunge battle games kind of here, it's going to be these are usually 2017, 23-20 low scoring. It's very touchdown dependent for Amari and Hampton for me in this game. And the Raiders rank number 6 versus the running back right now overall. On to the Ashton Genty side. And you saw Ashton Genty kind of the same situation Charger side here. Ashton Genty really, really struggled versus the Patriots in the run. The Patriots run D was absolutely phenomenal, holding them to 46 yards. He got it done through the air. He did find the end zone to save his fantasy football day. I'm still going to keep him as purely a start, and I look at the situation differently because he doesn't have a Najee Harris breathing down his back. He's going to be the full 80%, 75% work down back out there, so he's still a start for me. But I don't know how much of a high-end start he's going to be. This Charger run D in week 1, they weren't not bad at all versus the Chiefs. I mean, they literally stymied the Chiefs all the way through. They were the number 1 run D, 41 yards for a total and 5 points total. So it's not a good matchup either side here in the running game, but it is one of those AFC West games where it's just ground and pound. It could be, every time I watch the Chargers Raiders, it's always a 3-point field goal game that comes down to the wire where it's tons of rushing and low equity amount of carries, just volume, low touches. So I have Hampton as a flex play and Genty as a start, but not high up on my list this week they will be. Thank you guys for rocking with me today. That is the end of the episode. If you guys want to check out my quarterback startup sit-em, that video is out there before. My next video will be wide receivers. We're going to try to get through all these today to get my quarterback, running back, wide receiver, tight end out for you. And that's my goal this year, is to have all of my content and videos out to you before the Thursday night kickoff, so you have everything you need to dominate your guys' matchup weekly. Now, if you guys help me out, tap that thumbs up, hit that subscription button if you're new in here. All the support's appreciated. The Discord as well, again, will be pinned in the comments. It will also be in the description. If you guys want to hop in, talk ball with us 24/7 off stream, that is the best way to do it. We cover everything fantasy football. And again, if you guys haven't signed up on Drafters, make sure you use promo code SLEAZE. It'll match your deposit to $100, and you can join us with best balls, pick'ems, DFS, everything. And we also post all of that in the Discord as well. And last week, my 2 locks of the week were Keenan Allen and Jameson Smith over their receptions. They were absolute smashes. I'm glad the Discord made some money there, guys. And now, that's it for me in this video. I hope to see you guys in the next one. Thanks for listening. Sleazebomb out.